Do I have your outline?
I believe so.
Great.
All right, everyone. I'm Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi. So, until you put forth the intentional effort of being respectful, do you really realize that we don't actually give as much respect to everyone as we thought we did? For me, I've always thought of myself as a respectful person, but as we did this experiment, I realized I'm not who I thought I was, in a sense. So with that, I began to kind of reanalyze and redefine what I thought respect to be, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that respect is synonymous with appreciation. You can't appreciate someone if you don't have respect for them, or appreciation for their time, their commitments, their achievements, whatever it might be. So for this 48-hour period, I decided that I was going to respect everyone by appreciating them, whoever I came in contact with in whatever situation. So I had a great experience with a stranger, a not so good experience at work, and a pretty bad experience with some women I sublet from over the summer. So for my good experience, happened on this lovely back road called the 405. For those of you who drive in Los Angeles, you know that casually getting flipped off or excessively honked at is not atypical. And so it's rare that I have a pleasant experience, but I actually had one last week that I think is worth telling. So I was pulling up onto the 405, or the crossing of the 405 on Sunset, and I was stopped at a light. The man to the left of me and I somehow made eye contact, and instead of just awkwardly moving my eyes away, I acknowledged him and I smiled and nodded my head, and he frantically rolled down his window and asked me, "How can I get onto the 405 North? Can you help me?" And he was in my far left lane and he needed to be 3 lanes over. So instead I said, "Please just cut in front of me. When the light turns green, I'll wait, and hopefully that'll give you a chance to make your way over." And he said thank you, but it wasn't like a thank you, it was like a thank you. Like I did something that was so remarkable. This little act of kindness just made his day. And so the light turned green and he went on his way. This particular instance really stood out for me because it was so trivial and a 30-second encounter, but I knew it made a difference on his day, and I know it made a difference on mine. And so that was really great. For my not so good experience happened at work. I work in retail and in customer service, so my job usually implies just greeting people or asking how their day's been. And to be honest, throughout the day, you're so redundant with what you do, you kind of become a little insincere in your approach to people. So for this day, I decided that I was going to actually want to help people and not be so oh, this is a chore, but I'm going to be respectful, giving them the respect that they deserve. So I actually had a great day, and I had a lot of awesome encounters. But up until the last 5 minutes of work, 6:55, and we closed at 7, a mother and daughter came in, and they spent a solid hour and a half trying things on, taking their time leisurely shopping. I found this so disrespectful, especially since me and my other 3 coworkers had to wait another hour and a half on our already 9-hour shift just so that they could walk away with 6 new items of clothing. So I found that just something we don't always realize in service, that people sacrifice stuff for us all the time, and we just end up kind of not even realizing it, that we're being disrespectful. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, we have so many encounters every day with people that are giving us a service, and we don't really realize it and don't give them the appreciation that they deserve. And so for my ugly experience, it happened with some women that I sublet from over the summer. So when I arrived, I only stayed there for 2 months, and so this was in June, and I get there, and it was disgusting. The showers have not been cleaned, the carpets were gross, there was molded food over in the fridge, and it smelled. So I tried to not really address the problem, and I just cleaned it up myself. Come last week, the ladies I sublet from sent me a message, and our deposits, really lack of, because they took almost the entirety of our deposits with the justification that we left it disgusting when we did not. So, in my own most respectful way possible, I asked just to see the receipt, to see the charges from the landlord herself. Come to find that we were not only paying for the entirety of the fines for this period, that we only had 2 months there and they spent 10 months there, but we were also paying for their late fees on unpaid rent. This was so blatantly disrespectful, especially since I had cleaned up the moldy fridge myself. So I realized in that instance the only way for me to stay respectful was to not say anything at all. With these experiences, I've found that you can't always go into life with expectations that people will give you the kind of respect that you would give them. You don't have control over that, and the only thing you do have control over is yourself. So I hope this doesn't discourage you to be respectful, because for those who do acknowledge respect, it's reciprocated and it's contagious. The little acts of respect, like the man on the 405, it's really appreciated and it can take you a long way.
Thank you. 451.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
I thought your speech was really, really good. You did a good job kind of looking around the room and making eye contact with people, and the pace of your stories were good. Like, you didn't move too fast or too slow, and it kept us engaged. Good job.
Thank you, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Angelica.
Hi, Angelica.
I really liked your speech. You were really positive and upbeat the entire time. I think one thing, I think kind of with the hands was a little distracting at times because it was almost every sentence, every word. And so just focusing on maybe not fidgeting as much, but overall, that was really good body motion, body language.
Okay, and you'll see that on YouTube. So, okay, Lauren, let me talk about your speech. You set it up as kind of introductory remarks, saying we've really kind of lost it, and I agree with that. And you had a good preview of what happened. I loved your 405 story of the good. I want to just add that cars are a place where people think they can be respectful walking around on the beautiful UCLA campus, and they get in their car and go crazy and get real rude and nasty and cut people off. And it makes me really sad to see the way people drive in Los Angeles, at least some people. So that was a marvelous story and a good story, and I'm glad that it worked out. On the bad story about the lady that came in 5 minutes before closing and stayed for an hour and a half, I don't know if you work at Nordstrom's or something. Some places would kick them out. I guess you work at Nordstrom's or something, but that just comes with the retail experience, and you have to sort of grin and bear those experiences. You express the idea that we need to have greater empathy for the workers that are in these situations, and we don't want to come into restaurants at 1 minute before they're closing and order a 10-course meal. We can, by technicality, do it, but it's kind of rude. Yeah. On the ugly experience, I want to say one thing about this, which is I don't mean to say that being respectful always means that people can walk over you. I think there's a way there's a art in learning to disagree without being disagreeable, and to just quietly and respectfully but firmly say, I think there's a mistake here, I'm mistaken.
My roommates handled that. So
Yeah,
she got
What?
it covered. I got it covered.
You got it covered, yeah. And there's a real art to it, and there's a real art to doing it in a respectful way that gets good results. When you come in and you say, "Hey, B, you're trying to screw me, and you're not going to get away with it," you get nowhere fast. But I think that you did a nice job. A little bit on this, more of on the end, just more on the narrative of what I learned, and here's what happened. But you came back to the 405 as a nice tie back, so you did a nice job. Thank you.
Socials rep,
God, I hope that doesn't mean it's almost that. If it is, we'll put more in. Let's see if it gets through the next one. Does that mean it's almost out of batteries? It can't be. Oh, God. Well, I have more.
Hi everyone, my name is Miriam Pribieska.
Hi, Miriam.
So I just want to start with an idea that is important to the matter that I will be speaking about, which is that respect is a universal gesture that most of us would be able to understand. And from the simple act of putting your hands together or bowing your head down, you portray respect through nonverbal gestures. And this is important because regardless of the language that you speak, you would be able to know whether or not you're being respected. And I say this because I am a bilingual. I speak Spanish and English, and at some point in my life, not too long ago, I wasn't able to fully grasp the English language, yet I always knew when I was being disrespected or respected. That is why when I heard about this experience and about doing this project, I grew a little weary because I didn't necessarily want to act as if I was being respectful. I actually wanted to feel it, and I wanted to be genuine about my experiences, because in the end, people know whether or not you're being respectful or not. And to my surprise, after analyzing my 48 hours, I realized that often respect is an unwanted and just natural reaction that we do to to the people, and that we do in little things every single day. And I am about to tell you about 3 of my experiences where I learned that respect can either be appreciated, dismissed, or completely misunderstood. So here is my good, bad, and really ugly experience. My first experience happened on Thursday when we were assigned and this project, and basically I walked to Powell Library and I wanted to charge my phone because it was dying, and I got there, and let me just say that it was 0 week at this time. So I got there, I made my way to the bottom of the library. I eventually just found a table, sat down, took out my computer and my charger, and immediately just started being on my computer. Of course, I didn't think about anybody else because I didn't expect anyone to be at the library 0 week. I mean, who's going to be there? So I just placed my backpack on top of the chair that was next to me, and as I said, I was just typing, and then I suddenly realized from the corner of my eye that a girl started approaching my table, and as she did, I immediately just moved my stuff out of the way, and I allowed her to sit down. And then I realized that without me necessarily saying the mantra, I respected her enough that I was willing to move my stuff out of the way so that she may sit. I could have easily just left my stuff there and made her find another seat. But this is when I realized that respect is something that we act on impulse. And because of that, she just simply smiled, she thanked me, and she sat down. And I felt really good about myself because I reacted pretty quickly, and she didn't necessarily have to be like, oh, is this seat taken? Because I just did it because I felt it, and that was the main purpose that I wanted to do during this whole project. Now, that was my good experience, and my bad experience happened that same day after leaving Powell Library. And as I said, it was 0 weeks, so I wanted to meet up with some friends, and I walked down Bruin Walk, and it was an okay experience. And this is like my bad experience because as I was walking down, I was a little bit in a hurry because I was busy and I was kind of late. So what I did was I basically, whenever I walked down Bruin Walk, I didn't want to ignore people. And you know, my goal was to like go through Bruin Walk like an invisible ninja, but that obviously didn't work out because all these people were bombarding me with flyers, or they wanted to speak to me about their latest club, and basically I didn't ignore them. All I did was just tell them no thank you with a really big smile so they wouldn't feel offended or at least annoyed. But there was this one experience where this girl, like, my plan did not go as I expected. I kindly declined her offer, and she immediately just gave me a horrible facial expression. It was just like, she probably thought a million bad things about me, but I had not done, like, anything to disrespect her, you know? Was my no thank you not sweet enough? Or did I have something stuck in my teeth that just made her facial expression so awful? I don't know. And although it made me feel self-conscious, I realized that often people can totally dismiss your respect. And yes, I did not necessarily wait for her to maybe talk to me about what she wanted to, but at the same time, I simply didn't ignore her, take out my phone, and just completely like ran down Bruin Walk. I actually wanted to show her some respect, but at the same time, I was in a hurry, so I just told her that. And although she didn't have to say anything, her facial expression said it all. And that is what I learned from that is that like when you don't speak, it kind of also tells you a lot about the person and about what they think of you. And this is where I go to my bad story that happened on Friday evening as I was heading home. I'm a commuter, and I know a lot of people have spoken about LA traffic, but I mean, all days are horrible just being in LA, but Friday evening is the worst time that you could possibly drive because it's just mayhem. Everybody's honking, there's people all around you, cars, and all this, like, records is just really bad. So I was driving on Wilshire Boulevard, and of course it was rush hour, so there were a lot of people, and the light in front of me turned green, but I couldn't move forward because I didn't want to block an intersection. And I don't know if you've driven, and sometimes all these people just go and they kind of block the intersection, and you're like, what is he thinking? I'm going next. So I didn't necessarily want to do that. So instead I waited, and by doing that, this man behind me immediately started honking at me. He raised his hands in anger and basically just made his way around me with a very angry face. And at that point, I realized that often my respect I was showing to the drivers that were probably going to go very soon. He did not see that, and instead he just made his way around me. And just for the record, he did stay in the middle of the road, kind of blocking everyone, and people just started honking at him, and it was great. But that is when I learned that often being respectful and courteous can make you avoid being looking like you're a fool. Because this man who didn't necessarily respect the other drivers ended up looking like a fool. And which I didn't do, like I don't think I made myself a fool, I just waited there. And technically what I learned about this experience was that often respect can be portrayed and interpreted in many different ways, and respect is sort of like an atmosphere that we give out through our verbal actions as well as our non-verbal actions. And respect is not necessarily just listening to someone and acknowledging their what they're giving to you instead of regarding a topic. Respect is maybe opening the door for someone, giving an elder person your seat, or even giving that one person your last piece of chocolate. That is what I think respect is. And to close this off, I just want to add that to me, I feel that nonverbal gestures are not the most important signs that portray respect. Thank you.
Thank you. 7:15. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
I like the variation in your voice. I feel like you really got into your stories, and that made me really excited to hear your stories, and they're really descriptive. I also think you had a good use of your hands. It was very expressive without being too distracting, so that was amazing too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Eunice.
What's your name?
Eunice.
Hi, Eunice.
Hi. Just a couple of remarks here. I think just with your organization, maybe next time you think it over a little more, so that when you're speaking, you don't take as long to go into the topic. But overall, thank you.
Yeah, Miriam, you went a little long, 7:15, so you want to work on your word economy. You want to get through your intro so that you get to your stories a little more quickly. On your PAL library story, just get to the point of, without repeating your mantra, you moved your backpack, and it was a positive experience. On the, you took a long time to tell us about the Bruin Walk experience, which was basically just that this girl wasn't having your nonverbal respect. She was going to give you a dirty look. And that will happen. I warn people that either you'll be ignored or you'll get a dirty look, but still it's good to be respectful. On the ugly, I know you felt good that the guy got stuck out in the middle of the intersection as he zoomed by you. It's kind of like the other guy that zooms past you and then you see the cop giving them a ticket. There's nothing that feels better than that. But being respectful on the road is something that you allude to, and is very important. So overall, I would just say work on your word economy, but you're very fluent and a likable speaker. Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more. And then we'll be out of battery, I think. Yeah, if that. We did, and there we rock and roll.
Hi everyone, my name is Sojin.
Hi, Sojin.
So before I proceeded with my experiment, I started out by asking a few people around me what their definition of respect is. I did this procedure because I thought everyone must have different definition of respect, and they will behave and want to be treated accordingly. So the first person I asked was my boyfriend Peter, and according to him, the respect was a feeling of deep admiration as a result of their achievement or qualities. So he may be polite to the person, but at the same time may not have any respect for the person. The next person I asked was my friend Bailey. According to her definition, respect is putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So you have to consider and try to understand the other person's situation or feeling in order to be genuinely respectful. And last person, who was actually my one of roommates, gave me a rather curt reply. She told me, just don't do any harm to other people, and you'll be fine. So, there's nothing easier or simpler than such question. So from this, you see, the idea of respect was more complex than I thought, and what I decided to do was just watch my behavior and attitude toward others with this more consciousness, so I may not violate each individual's definition of respect. So regarding this experiment, I have my good, bad, and ugly experiences. And here comes my good experience. So my 3 good friends and I, we just moved into an apartment. And as much as I was excited about living together, I was also concerned. So I thought, what if we face serious conflicts in the future that may hurt our relationship? Well, I'm really happy to stand here and tell you this good story. So all of us, my friends and I, were busy at the beginning of school. So we didn't really get a chance to discuss the rules as a roommate or the list of things we would like to share as communal belongings. But what I noticed was after one person after another was filling our space with their own items as something we like to all share. And we would wash out the other person's dishes, someone left in the sink unclean, or take out the trash first. So, and the one will help the other later too. So I thought this was a really spontaneous action of reciprocity. And I'm sorry. Spontaneous, and even though you might think, giving your items as communal belongings is, something you might anticipate in the community environment, because logically you can receive a benefit by contributing what you already have. But however, I saw this as a really real genuine exchange of reciprocity, because my heart's thumping.
You're doing fine.
I'm not apologizing. Okay. Reciprocity. So this was really contagious. This, in a subtle way, was spreading the warmness among the people involved. So we want to continue to be nice to each other. But I also have a bad story, and sadly, it was born by myself. So my boyfriend, last Wednesday morning, my boyfriend was taking me to my workplace, to his generosity. But for some reason, my mind in the morning was just clustered with all kinds of worries, and as a result of that, my face I wasn't even conscious about my facial expressions, but my face did show that I was uneasy, uncomfortable, and of course this led him to ask multiple times of the reason why. But I just told him, oh, it's nothing, because it's in the morning, I'm tired. Because I didn't really want to trouble him with these trivial matters. But this answer was definitely not sufficient to him, and he kept asking me more why I was in this state, and explain more. And I didn't really want to. So this conversation repeatedly went back and forth between us. And eventually, we argued more and more and more. Now that I think, I have issues. Now that I think about it, giving me a ride, was not even his duty or something that is expected of him as naturally, because he was my boyfriend. So, but still, only one out of his favor was just my happy face, according to his accounts later. But I guess I didn't give him what he deserved. I didn't even make him feel appreciated, but I just made him feel comfortable, and this could have been resolved more easily if I just gave him a little more explanation and make him understand that's what's going on. So I felt really bad about it, and especially I was carrying out this experiment. I completely forgot about this experiment. So that was bad. And I guess my ugly story lies on the same line with my bad story. I'll give you this ugly fact. We often misinterpret. More often than we realize. So our argument was started and intensified because he took my facial expression as his failure or incompetency to making me happy despite his efforts. And I took the pressing tone in his voice as something that puts me in a subordinate position. Like, even his action after offering me a ride was in my mind, from my perspective, was suggest that I have to remain cheerful and be pleasurable all along the way to my workplace because he's doing something good to me, but no matter what. But I didn't. So that's why to some degrees we both misinterpreted and didn't try to resolve that issue. So that was ugly. And last thing I learned was I guess that's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. We're over here somewhere. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
And I actually liked your story because it was personal. You did stumble a little bit, that's totally fine. But I liked it because you really made it about personal experiences and sort of like it was more personal than other people. And I really liked that you learned something about yourself.
Thank you. Improvement?
Thank you. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
So, I noticed that you walked a little bit backward a little, and you may have forgotten some of what you wanted to say, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. And I really liked your story about your boyfriend because sometimes we're not having a good day, and we really just give off that vibe of you're doing something wrong. I just really.
Okay, let me try to give you some feedback. I was looking for you to start off with some general remarks about the experiment of repeating the mantra, I respect you, as you walked around. You were struggling with the definition, so you asked other people, and you got 3 different definitions, and so that didn't help a lot, but you decided to work with that as your working definition. Your good story, I guess, and I guess you were repeating your mantra as you were working through it, meant it was very long. You went 6:45, so you went long, and but to work on your word economy, and but you got along, and so you were respectful to each other, so that was good. The bad and the ugly story came with your boyfriend and the misunderstanding. And you admitted you sort of forgot the experiment and forgot to repeat that I respect you and I want you to remember to repeat. That was the whole point of the story, to repeat the mantra as often as you can and see what kind of results you get. So overall, just continue to work with repeating it and see what results you get. But you got the job done. We learned a lot about you, and I got to see you speak. So thank you. So we made it.